The Vice President Debate Analysis. On October 1, 2024, Senator J.D. Vance and Governor Tim Walz engaged in a heated discussion at the vice presidential debate. As both candidates fiercely maintained their positions and disparaged the ideas of their rival, the true intentions of the candidates soon came to light. Vance was tough, defending Trump's track record and criticizing the Biden-Harris team, while Walz attempted to refute with his own stories, frequently coming across as defensive. This discussion presented a look into what each contender genuinely stands for, leaving spectators anxious for additional insights into their differing ideologies. But who won the debate? And what do the two VPs think of America's future? Well, let's find out. Economic policy. Starting with one of the most contentious discussions of the evening, the two candidates had very different ideologies on economic policy. Senator J.D. Vance had a strong debut, vigorously defending President Trump's economic policies and claiming that they significantly increased wages while lowering inflation. Vance presented a positive image of Trump's robust economy, highlighting the creation of jobs and an atmosphere that was conducive to economic growth. He focused on how Trump's deregulation and tax cuts supported corporate expansion and restored manufacturing jobs that had been lost to foreign markets. Vance presented these accomplishments as proof that a Trump administration is the most advantageous option for future expansion and economic recuperation. Governor Tim Walz made an effort to refute Vance's case by saying that Trump's management of the COVID-19 epidemic brought many Americans financial difficulties. However, Vance quickly refuted this, pointing out that the epidemic was unprecedentedly global in scope and asserting that no economy could have avoided damage. Despite the economic downturn, Trump's government provided assistance through stimulus checks, business loans, and unemployment compensation, indicating a commitment to assisting American people and companies during an unusual period. He dismissed Walz's critique as politically driven and disconnected from the reality that other countries confront, seeing it as a flimsy attempt to place the entire blame for a global issue on Trump. Vance did not hold back while criticizing the Biden-Harris economic record, calling it atrocious. He denounced the present administration's record of skyrocketing inflation, increasing interest rates, and sluggish wage growth. When defending Biden's initiatives, Walz seemed to be struggling and kept coming up with talking points that Vance could easily refute. Using examples of how the Biden-Harris administration's policies have overregulated firms, hampered innovation, and put a greater financial burden on working families, Vance mocked Walz's attempts to defend the economic failures. The difference between Walz and Vance's economic perspectives was stark. Walz faltered when defending an economy that is now beset by uncertainty and rising expenses, while Vance confidently portrayed Trump's policies as a plan for revived prosperity. Viewers were left with a clear message from the economic policy debate, whereas Walz's defense of the Biden-Harris administration appeared weak and unconvincing in light of the present economic issues. Immigration. During the immigration discussion, it was evident who is for America and who is not. Senator J.D. Vance adopted a strong stance emphasizing that border security affects both national security and economic stability, and is not only a political problem. He maintained that major progress had been achieved by the Trump administration to secure the border, safeguarding American employment and lowering illegal immigration. Vance discussed the perils of a loose border policy, pointing out that ineffective immigration control directly results in higher crime rates and a burden on public resources. His strategy was straightforward. A safe border keeps the system just and orderly, which benefits all parties involved, including lawful immigration. But Governor Tim Walz attempted to change the subject by charging Trump of impeding attempts by both parties to restructure the immigration laws. He contended that because of how severe and polarizing Trump's ideas were, the political environment became so fragmented that meaningful reform was unfeasible. Vance swiftly refuted these allegations, stating that the previous government had made several attempts to collaborate with Congress on comprehensive immigration reform, but had encountered opposition from Democrats who were hesitant to make concessions on border security measures. Vance contended that Walz's story was deceptive, portraying Trump as a barrier, while in fact, progress was hampered by party legislative deadlock. Vance had a clear position. Immigration is welcome in America as long as it is done safely and lawfully. He maintained that Walz's strategy was risky in addition to being foolish, failing to address the underlying problems with illegal immigration while ignoring its effects on inhabitants of the United States. By the end of the show, it was clear that Walz's arguments were unconvincing and did not offer a workable solution to the continuous problems with immigration. But Vance's message struck a chord with people who saw border security as a pillar of national policy. Gun control in school shootings. Another contentious discussion was gun regulation in school shootings, with the opposing candidates offering radically different approaches to this urgent problem. Senator J.D. Vance tackled the subject by emphasizing practical, quick fixes that may improve school safety. He maintained that enhancing school security is the most realistic approach to keep kids safe, supporting the use of armed guards, modernized monitoring equipment, and restricted entry to school premises. Vance underlined that these steps will offer a level of security that more stringent gun control legislation just cannot give. He agreed that although there are many moving parts to the problem of gun violence, the safety of students in schools should not be politicized and should instead be addressed with workable, quickly implementable solutions. On the other hand, Governor Tim Walz adopted a more traditional tack and advocated for strict gun restriction as the main strategy to reduce gun violence. He demanded more stringent laws, extending background checks and outlawing some types of weapons. Walz presented this strategy as an essential step in lowering gun-related occurrences, but his ideas lacked consideration for the practicalities of execution. Vance quickly criticized Walz's position, claiming that tight laws will punish law-abiding gun owners without really deterring lawbreakers who evade restrictions. He had denounced Walz's plans as being too burdensome, violating residents' Second Amendment rights without providing any assurance that violence would decline. Vance believed that the issue required a more targeted, concentrated solution rather than wide-ranging, hard-to-enforce laws, which is why he prioritized school security over tougher gun laws. He emphasized that lengthy background checks and waiting periods are already a part of the current gun laws, and he said that introducing further restrictions would burden law-abiding gun owners without addressing the underlying causes of violence. Vance argued for a strategy that directly addresses the problem at its source, providing parents and educators with peace of mind by placing a higher priority on security measures. Walz's call for comprehensive gun control, though presented as a bold solution, was very out of touch with the immediate need for school safety. This is yet another attempt to push a political agenda at the expense of practical, immediate action. In the end, Vance's argument that enhancing security is a more effective and realistic measure resonated, which quite honestly made Walz's position look like a blanket policy that fails to account for the complexities of gun violence. Vance's focus on direct protective measures stands in contrast to Walz's broader, more restrictive approach. Foreign policy. The foreign policy discussion was another flashpoint in the debate, as both candidates sought to present their party's stance on America's role in global conflicts. With confidence, Senator J.D. Vance supported President Trump's handling of foreign policy, pointing out how the previous administration was able to prevent new international wars and preserve some degree of stability across the world. He contended that a time of relative calm on the international scene resulted from rivals being deterred by Trump's peace through strength philosophy, while confronting American interests. Vance stressed that no new wars were started while Trump was president, and that all ongoing conflicts were handled cautiously and with an emphasis on U.S. interests. He cited the accomplishments of peace deals negotiated in the Middle East as proof of Trump's skillful diplomacy, highlighting a policy that gave de-escalation precedence over military action. Governor Tim Walz made an effort to attack President Trump's foreign policy, characterizing it as heedless and contemptuous of established ties. He contended that Trump's actions damaged America's reputation abroad and frayed ties with important allies. Vance, on the other hand, didn't take long to respond, mocking Walz's analysis as being unfounded and disconnected from the real results of Trump's foreign policy. He emphasized that although detractors forecasted anarchy, Trump was able to keep the U.S. out of expensive new conflicts and concentrated on bringing home soldiers. Vance presented Walz's argument as a stale political talking point that disregarded Trump's strategy's real advantages, especially his readiness to confront enemies without drawing the nation into protracted wars. Vance went on to defend Trump's handling of the current tensions throughout the world, highlighting the administration's accomplishments in upholding peace while confronting threats. He emphasized how Trump's policies prioritized America and made sure that the nation stayed out of needless wars. Without using force as a first response, Vance contended that this strategy promoted respect for American might. In contrast, Walz's attitude was a demand for a return to old, interventionist tactics that had led to extended military deployments in the past. Walz's critique of Trump lacked substance and ignored the strategic moderation that characterized Trump's foreign policy. It became evident from Vance's case that an aggressive, powerful America does not necessarily need to be a war-torn country. By the end of the conversation, Vance had effectively portrayed Trump's foreign policy as one of diplomatic diplomacy and measured strength, while debunking Walz's criticisms as meaningless platitudes, devoid of any genuine evidence of the previous administration's accomplishments. So, what are your thoughts on the debate? Do you think Vance made a stronger case? Or do you side with Walz's arguments? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to give a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button for more content like this. Until next time, stay informed and stay engaged.